My estranged brother, after years of silence, reappeared to sabotage my business and steal my girlfriend, only to be met with a shocking revelation and public humiliation. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here I am, pouring out my soul to anonymous strangers on the internet because I honestly don't know where else to turn. My life, which I had carefully rebuilt after years of pain, has been completely upended by the return of a ghost from my past, my older brother, Michael. This isn't just a story about sibling rivalry, it's a saga of betrayal, manipulation, and ultimately, a strange kind of justice that has left me both reeling and, surprisingly, somewhat vindicated. To understand the current chaos, you need a bit of backstory. Michael and I grew up in a household that, from the outside, probably looked idyllic. Two bright, active boys, supportive parents, a nice house in the suburbs. But beneath the surface, there was a deeply ingrained favoritism for Michael. He was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. He excelled in everything: sports, academics, charm. I, on the other hand, was the quiet, artistic one, often overlooked, my achievements downplayed in comparison to his dazzling successes. This created a rift between us that widened with every passing year. Every minor disagreement became a moral failing on my part. Every success of mine was overshadowed by one of his. He was adept at subtle put-downs, backhanded compliments, and passive-aggressive digs that chipped away at my self-esteem. Our parents, bless their hearts, genuinely believed they were being fair, but their actions always spoke louder than their words. Michael's transgressions were always excused, my minor missteps magnified. The breaking point came when I was 18 and Michael was 21. I had been saving diligently for years, working odd jobs, saving birthday money, anything to get enough to buy my dream camera and enroll in a photography workshop. It wasn't a huge amount, but to me, it was everything. Michael, who had always had an expensive taste and a penchant for living beyond his means, borrowed the money. He swore he'd pay it back, of course. He needed it for an urgent investment opportunity that was guaranteed to double. I was naive, I loved my brother, and I wanted to believe him. So, I lent it to him. The investment opportunity, as you might guess, was a scam. The money vanished, and with it, my trust in Michael. When I confronted him, he merely shrugged, said tough luck, and our parents, surprisingly, sided with him, saying I should have been more careful with my money. That was it. I packed a bag, left a note, and walked out of their lives, and Michael's, without a backward glance. I cut off all contact, changed my phone number, and moved to a different city, determined to build a life where I wasn't constantly living in his shadow. The next 10 years were hard. I worked multiple jobs, slept on couches, and clawed my way up from nothing. But I was free. Free from the constant comparisons, the subtle put-downs, the feeling of always being less than. I pursued my passion for photography, eventually opening my own small studio. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine, and I poured my heart and soul into it. I specialized in event photography, weddings, corporate gatherings, family portraits. My business grew steadily through word of mouth, built on my dedication, talent, and genuine connection with my clients. I finally felt a sense of accomplishment, a quiet pride in what I had achieved entirely on my own. During this time, I also met Sarah. She was a breath of fresh air, kind, intelligent, with a wonderful sense of humor and an infectious laugh. She understood my past without judging, and she celebrated my successes with genuine enthusiasm. We'd been together for 3 years, and she was, without a doubt, the love of my life. We had started talking about the future, about moving in together, maybe even getting a dog. My life was finally, truly, good. Then, about 6 months ago, the first tremor of my past began to shake my carefully constructed world. It started subtly. A few negative reviews for my business suddenly appeared online. Vague, unsubstantiated complaints about professionalism and quality. I dismissed them at first. Every business gets a few trolls. But then, potential clients started cancelling appointments, citing scheduling conflicts or going with another vendor. It was unusual, but not catastrophic. I redoubled my efforts, focusing on delivering even better service, running a few promotions. Then, things escalated. A major client, a corporate event that would have been a huge boost for my studio, suddenly pulled out. The explanation was vague, something about new management wanting to go in a different direction. I was disappointed, but I pressed on. What I didn't know was that Michael had returned. He reappeared in my life not with a phone call or an apology, but through a mutual acquaintance. Apparently, he had found out where I was living and what I was doing. He was, according to this acquaintance, down on his luck and looking for a fresh start. My stomach clenched. I knew exactly what that meant for Michael. A fresh start usually involved him leeching off someone else's hard work. I told the acquaintance I wasn't interested in reconnecting. I had moved on, and I wanted nothing to do with him, but Michael wasn't one to take a hint. A few weeks later, he showed up at my studio, unannounced. I was shocked. He looked different, a little older, a little more worn, but still with that same arrogant glint in his eyes. He tried to act contrite, apologizing vaguely for the past, saying he'd matured and wanted to make amends. He claimed he'd heard about my photography business and was so proud of me. My gut screamed at me to kick him out, but a small, foolish part of me, the part that still yearned for a genuine connection with my brother, hesitated. He spun a sob story about losing his job, getting evicted, and needing a place to stay just for a little while until he could get back on his feet. He even brought up our parents, saying they were worried about me and missed me. He implied that if I didn't help him, I would be letting down our entire family against my better judgment, and much to Sarah's quiet concern, I offered him a spare room in my apartment. I told myself it was for a limited time, a few weeks at most. I set clear boundaries. He was to look for a job, contribute to groceries, and not interfere with my business or my relationship with Sarah. He readily agreed, playing the role of the grateful, humbled younger brother. Sarah, bless her heart, was polite but distant. She had a keen sense for people, and I could tell she didn't trust him. I should have listened to her. Michael, initially, seemed to uphold his end of the bargain. He spent his days looking for jobs, though I never saw any real effort. He'd occasionally help out around the apartment, making a show of being useful. But slowly, subtly, the old Michael began to re-emerge. He started making comments about my business, questioning my pricing, suggesting better ways to market myself. He'd offer unsolicited advice, always phrased as if he were trying to help, but with an underlying tone of condescension. He'd ask Sarah probing questions about our relationship, about our future plans, always with a disarming smile. I dismissed it as him just trying to reintegrate into my life, a bit clumsy perhaps, but well-intentioned. Then, the insidious sabotage began. It was so subtle at first that I barely noticed. My client list, which I kept on a password-protected spreadsheet, seemed to have slight alterations. A few contact numbers were off, an email address subtly changed. I put it down to my own carelessness. My website, which I meticulously maintained, started having occasional technical glitches that prevented potential clients from contacting me. I spent hours troubleshooting, convinced it was a hosting issue. The negative online reviews increased, now more specific, claiming I missed deadlines, delivered blurry photos, and was rude to clients. These were utterly baseless, completely contrary to my professional standards and the overwhelmingly positive feedback I normally received. I realized then that someone was deliberately trying to damage my reputation. I suspected Michael, but I had no proof, and he was always so charmingly innocent whenever I brought it up. The turning point came with Sarah. She had always been a rock, and our relationship had been incredibly strong. But I started noticing a shift in her behavior. She seemed more distant, often lost in thought. She'd occasionally defend Michael's helpful suggestions, or brush off my concerns about his presence. I tried to talk to her, but she'd become defensive, accusing me of being paranoid or uncharitable. Our arguments became more frequent, more heated. I felt like I was losing her, and I couldn't understand why one evening, I came home earlier than expected from a late shoot. The apartment was quiet. I found Michael and Sarah in the living room, deep in conversation. Michael had his hand on Sarah's arm, and she was looking at him with an expression I couldn't quite decipher. As I walked in, they both jumped, looking startled. Michael quickly removed his hand, and Sarah averted her gaze. A cold dread seeped into my stomach. I asked what was going on. Michael, ever the smooth operator, quickly said they were just talking about my business, and Sarah nodded, her eyes still avoiding mine. I felt a pang of jealousy and suspicion that I immediately hated myself for. Sarah was my girlfriend. She wouldn't betray me. Would she? The next few days were excruciating. I felt a palpable tension between Sarah and me, and Michael seemed to be reveling in it, always popping up with a helpful comment or a concerned glance at Sarah when he thought I wasn't looking. I was losing sleep, my business was suffering, and my relationship felt like it was crumbling. Then, the final, undeniable piece of the puzzle fell into place. I had a small, inconspicuous security camera set up in my studio, mostly for insurance purposes, and it also covered the entrance to the apartment when I was out. I rarely checked the footage, but one night, consumed by a desperate need for answers, I decided to review the past few weeks of recordings. What I saw made my blood run cold. Michael, after I left for shoots, going through my desk, accessing my computer, deleting files, changing contact information. Michael, planting a small, almost invisible device on my website server, clearly designed to cause intermittent outages. Michael, creating fake email accounts and posting those vicious reviews. He was systematically dismantling my business, piece by piece, but the worst was yet to come. I fast-forwarded to the day I'd walked in on them. The camera caught everything. After I left, Michael had approached Sarah, gently taken her hands, and started talking to her, leaning in close. He was whispering something, and she looked distressed, pulling away slightly. Then, he moved closer, pulling her into an embrace. He kissed her. Not a friendly kiss, but a long, lingering, possessive kiss. Sarah, to my horror, initially resisted, pushing him away, but then she seemed to give in, leaning into it, her eyes closed. They broke apart, and Michael said something that made her laugh, a soft, intimate laugh that I had once thought was reserved only for me. They talked for a long time, their bodies close, their expressions conspiratorial. I watched, numb, as my entire world shattered around me. I turned off the video, my hand shaking. The betrayal was so complete, so utterly devastating. My brother, the person who had tormented me throughout my childhood, was not only destroying my livelihood but also systematically stealing the woman I loved. And Sarah, who I had trusted implicitly, had participated in it. I couldn't confront them immediately. I needed a plan. I needed to expose Michael for the snake he was, and I needed to understand what had happened with Sarah. I knew I couldn't just throw them out without causing more drama, and I certainly wasn't going to let Michael get away with this. The next morning, I pretended everything was normal. I even managed a strained smile for Sarah. I went to work, but instead of focusing on photography, I meticulously gathered all the evidence from the security camera. I downloaded the relevant clips, timestamped them, and created a concise, undeniable dossier of Michael's sabotage. I then contacted a lawyer, explaining the situation and my need to legally protect my business and expose my brother's actions. The lawyer advised me on the best course of action. My plan began to take shape. I decided I would host a small celebration at my studio, inviting a few key clients, some business acquaintances, and a couple of close friends. It would appear to be a networking event, a chance to thank my supporters. I told Sarah and Michael about it, framing it as a way to boost the studio's profile and introduce Michael to my professional network. Michael, predictably, puffed up with self-importance, envisioning himself as the co-host, the brilliant strategist behind my sudden success. Sarah looked a little uncomfortable, but agreed to help with the preparations. The night of the party arrived. My studio was tastefully decorated, music playing softly, and a small catering spread laid out. Michael was in his element, charming everyone, talking about our business, even subtly bad-mouthing a few of my competitors. Sarah was circulating, looking beautiful, but I noticed a flicker of unease in her eyes whenever she caught mine. I kept my distance from her, observing, waiting. After about an hour, when most of the guests had arrived, I stood up and clapped my hands for attention. "Thank you all for coming," I began, my voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil raging inside me. "I wanted to host this evening to express my gratitude for your support of my photography business. It's been a challenging few months, and your continued faith means the world to me." I paused, scanning the faces in the room. Michael was beaming, expecting me to praise him. Sarah was watching me, a worried frown on her face. "However," I continued, my voice hardening slightly, "I also wanted to address some recent, unfortunate incidents. Incidents that have not only impacted my business but also my personal life." A hush fell over the room. People exchanged curious glances. Michael's confident smile wavered slightly. "As many of you know," I said, gesturing towards Michael, "my older brother, Michael, recently came back into my life. He claimed to be looking for a fresh start, and I, foolishly, opened my home and my heart to him." Michael's face went from smug to confused, then a flash of anger. "What are you talking about?" he interjected, trying to sound offended. I held up a hand. "Let me finish. I have here," I said, pulling out a USB drive, "a collection of evidence. Evidence that clearly demonstrates that Michael has been systematically sabotaging my business, tampering with client information, causing technical issues on my website, and posting malicious, false reviews online." I plugged the USB drive into a laptop connected to a large monitor I used for client presentations. The first few clips played. Michael at my desk, manipulating files, a close-up of him planting the device on my server. Gasps rippled through the room. Michael's face was ashen, his eyes darting frantically. "This," I stated, my voice ringing with a cold fury, "is not the act of a supportive brother. This is the act of a jealous, destructive individual who sought to undermine everything I've built." Then, I paused, looking directly at Sarah. She had gone completely white, her hand flying to her mouth. "And now, for the personal betrayal," I said, my voice barely a whisper, but amplified by the sudden silence in the room. While my brother was destroying my business, he was also systematically destroying my relationship. He was not just living in my apartment, he was seducing my girlfriend. I clicked to the next set of clips. The moment Michael kissed Sarah. The intimate embrace. Their conspiratorial conversations. The full, undeniable extent of their betrayal played out for everyone to see. The gasps turned into murmurs of shock and outrage. Sarah, tears streaming down her face, let out a choked sob and ran out of the room. I didn't stop her. My focus was on Michael. He stood there, frozen, his face a mask of horror and disbelief. The charm had completely vanished, replaced by a raw, exposed shame. "Michael," I said, my voice now devoid of emotion, "you are no longer welcome in my home or in my life. I have already initiated legal proceedings to ensure you are held accountable for the damage you've inflicted on my business. And I hope, for your sake, that you can somehow live with the consequences of your actions." I then looked at my guests. I apologize for this unexpected turn of events. I wanted you all to see the truth. My business will continue, stronger than ever, because it's built on integrity and hard work, not on deception and betrayal. Thank you for your understanding. A few of my closest friends and clients immediately rallied around me, offering words of support. Michael, utterly humiliated, stumbled out of the studio, not even bothering to look back. I heard later from one of my neighbors that he had packed a small bag and disappeared into the night. The aftermath has been a whirlwind. Sarah tried to contact me multiple times, leaving tearful voicemails, sending frantic texts. I haven't responded. The betrayal cut too deep. I loved her, truly, but I can't look past what she did, how she allowed Michael to manipulate her, how she actively participated in deceiving me. My lawyer is confident we have a strong case against Michael for business interference and damages. The negative reviews have been systematically challenged and removed, and the technical issues on my website have been resolved. My clients, after the initial shock, have been incredibly supportive, many of them expressing disgust at Michael's actions and reaffirming their loyalty to my business. I'm still processing everything. The anger is still there, raw and intense, but underneath it, there's a strange sense of clarity. Michael's return, while incredibly painful, forced me to confront the past I had tried to outrun. It showed me the true colors of someone I once called brother, and it gave me the strength to cut him out of my life definitively. And while losing Sarah hurts beyond words, I know now that I deserve someone who is unequivocally on my side, someone who would never betray my trust in such a cruel way. So, here I am. My business is recovering, my heart is broken but slowly mending, and my brother is, once again, a ghost. But this time, I know his story, and I have seen his true face. And I will never let him back in. It's a bitter lesson, but one I desperately needed to learn.